Okay. Okay. Does someone want to kind of summarize the case for us really quick?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Uridi.
Oh, I was like, since you said the prayer. So pretty much in summary, Tom, was it, I forgot his first name, but Green, he got promoted, I feel prematurely, because he really wanted this promotion, and now his boss doesn't really like him. He didn't really like him to begin with. So now he's trying to keep his job. His boss doesn't like him. That's what I got. His boss is mean. Yeah. So that's what I got from it. So
yeah. Court good.
When I first read that's exactly how I felt. I was like, boy, he didn't like him before he even got there, and now he's not even really giving him a chance. But then I read. Did either of you read the emails at the bottom?
Oh no.
Okay. I read the emails at the bottom, and then I thought, well, maybe this is more equal than I thought in the first place.
I felt it was pretty equal.
His boss. I have to be careful. I get it backwards. Okay, so Green is we're pretending we're Green, and Davis is his direct boss.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked for some pretty specific things in the first email. Here we go. Number 1, Thomas fails to inform me of his plans and keep me updated on his schedule. 2, he does not follow up on information when it's requested of him. And 3, he lacks enthusiasm. He has a right and an obligation to question aspects of our plan, but if he finds them illogical or unfeasible, but the kind of negativity he displayed in the budget plan meeting, that one I kind of ignored. I was like, yeah, you're just feeling defensive. But in the bottom, he says, Thomas accepted my criticisms in a thoughtful manner and assured me he will do what he can to succeed in his position. He plans to take these corrective measures. 1, plan to make focused calls when dealing with market specialists, account executives, and clients, and have a specific communication strategy going into a call. 2, update Outlook calendar regularly and always return calls from our office promptly. Apparently that's been a problem. His calendar would say he was supposed to be one place and he was somewhere else. So when his boss did need to get a hold of him, he couldn't, and then looked like an idiot because he was talking to clients trying to find his subordinate. 3, provide feedback to my requests in a timely manner. Thomas says he now recognizes that my requests are not merely reminders, they are a call for information that I genuinely need. And then 4, demonstrate a more positive attitude both inside and outside the company. Now, I think some of that was Davis's own fault for having a bad attitude towards him in the first place, how he's making Green feel. But it does also sound like an honest manager, you're not my only, I'm managing, maybe it's 4 people, maybe it's 8 people, but you're not the only one I have to, watch out for. I need you to keep your stuff updated so I can keep track and do what I need to do. You not fully doing what you need to do means that I can't fully do what I need to do, even if we do have differing opinions. It sounds like Green has really great ideas, and he's been really creative, and he's trying to move forward with kind of his little pet project, but he's not doing some of the market analyst research where he's selling the clients on this great new idea, but he's not backing it up with numbers.
Okay, so that brings us to a good question. If you were Shannon McDonald, before any of this happened, would you have hired him?
It sounded like it was a good idea at the time.
I would have to know the other candidates, my other options.
Okay.
Young, and they knew that he lacked some skills that were very important for the job. They knew that.
Yeah. Something that I felt like was a big concern was so one of the big reasons why there was issues is because Davis didn't get to hire his own person. McDonald kind of went behind his back and brought in Green because she thought he was great. And that caused conflict from the start. I mean, granted, it probably shouldn't have influenced Davis's feelings towards Green, but it did. And it shows an undermining of Davis's authority and power, that Green feels like he has this ally above Davis. And so Green feels like he is special and unique. Whereas if Davis had hired someone, that wouldn't have happened. So I think McDonald went behind Davis's back and caused problems for his division.
Or at least that's how Davis feels. That may not have been the intent.
I'm sure that wasn't the intent, but it just does cause problems.
Yeah.
Davis is planning on bringing on someone that he picked and he wants to work with because he values what they have to offer his team. Then it's not really like McDonald doesn't know what Davis needs to work with or what will fit into Davis's culture in his office.
It seemed that Davis had that position, right? And then he got promoted Davis's position. So Davis really knows what needs to get done in Green's position. And it seems like he's just trying to teach Green. But Green is a little green. And he's just not, he should from Davis, because I think Davis knows what he's doing because he was previously in that position.
Yeah. So I think we've got a whole bunch of questions here, and we apparently my car died, so my husband is staying home for a couple hours to drive me to work. So, so anyways, we're gonna kind of go through these questions here. We kind of already described Davis and Green a little. How does Green's actions or his style differ from Davis's?
I think he's honestly trying to do what he's supposed to do. I think he's got a different way of working than Green does. It did feel a little bit because like Uridi was saying, Davis had just been promoted to this manager position. So it's almost like he's expecting Green to do it exactly the way he did it when he had the position, rather than kind of allowing him, obviously he needed to do some of the things that Davis is asking him to do, but does it always have to be exactly the way Davis did it? Does it always have to be, you have to give people some ownership, a little latitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think.
Oh, sorry.
I just think Green is like Davis is more of an organization, like spreadsheets and analysis and that kind of person, whereas Davis is a salesperson. Green is a salesperson. He's a people person. So they each had different focuses on their jobs. So I think that's a big difference between the two of them.
Which also kind of shows that they value different things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So who do you think is mostly at fault for the current situation? Green or Davis? Or McDonald?
I think there's plenty of blame to go around.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know, I kind of feel like Green isn't, maybe Davis didn't fully explain to him his expectations of Green. Sorry, these names are too generic for me, so I might be messing them up. But Davis may not have explained what he expected, but if he had explained what he expected, Green should be doing more to fulfill those expectations. You should be like, oh, well, my boss wanted me to get this analysis done, so I should get that done because he's my boss. But otherwise, it doesn't show a lot of respect for the position that Davis has over him.
It does feel a little bit like Green is like a grumpy, petulant child a little bit. I don't want to do it just because you asked me, because you hurt my feelings and didn't want me in the first place. And then it also feels a little bit like Davis is reacting like an overbearing parent rather than, okay, you need to recognize what, you know. Although it does look like Davis tried to be pretty explicit both in the email and in the meeting, like you said.
Yeah. So even if he didn't give him like specific expectations when he started, he definitely gave him expectations when he had that follow-up. So I feel like Thomas Green is kind of falling down on that follow-through portion that's so important to any kind of job, is following up, following through. Sounds like he has the same problem with his clients. Like, they love his ideas, but when they ask for data and analysis to back it up, he doesn't really back to them or follow through on that. So I kind of wonder if he was promoted before he was really ready. He didn't really get that experience on the analysis and the organization side to bring with him into this new position.
Well, and I wonder if, like you said, if Davis had been a little bit more specific when Green first came on and said, you know, so, you know, this, and this are really important. And we have to make sure, you know, make sure that happens, if it might have precluded some of the other stuff rather than making it, you know, I'm not sure if it was ambiguous or, you know, he just made Green feel that. And McDonald did cause a problem by going around Davis and hiring Green without giving him any input. I mean, that just started a personality conflict before he even hit the ground.
Okay, so what are some things that you would have done differently if you were Green?
I've been talking a lot, so I'm being quiet.
I think we've kind of covered this a little bit with other questions, but being better with some follow through would probably be helpful. I think that maybe being more politic, or how he talks to Green or Davis, or trying to figure out why these things are important to Davis rather than just blowing him off and thinking that he's being too creative with his numbers and thus discounting all of the knowledge and experience he has.
Without being a suck up, it probably would have been a good idea for Green to go to Davis and say, okay, you've done this job, you've done it well. Can you give me some guidance? What worked well for you? You know, like being a little bit humble and saying, all right, how did you do this? Because obviously he did it well enough to get promoted.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if he'd been, you know, upfront and started out like that, Davis would have felt a little less threatened. And then even without, you know, even with the ambiguous beginning, he would have been, I would hope he would have asked questions. Okay, you said this and this. I'm not sure what you really meant. Can you explain it a little more?
Yeah. So there's obviously some office politics going on here. In the leader outline guide, it's asking how office politics come into play, and then it's got some specific things that are part of office politics. Like, what do each of the people want? The connections between like results and like aspects of the jobs and the people, power, power either by rank or seniority or by like what you can do kind of things. And then coercive power was one they listed in there. And that's the ability to enact consequences to influence action. So mostly they're about power, like the power you have to build results, the power you have because of your position, the power you have because you're good at something, and then what each person wants in the end. So how does that come into play here in this case? What are some things that you saw?
Well, I guess there was a lot of politics at the beginning when he got his position. Obviously, McDonald pulled rank and gave Green the job, so that was a power struggle. And like you guys had mentioned before, that made Green feel like likes me, like, and that's all that matters, is that this person likes me, therefore it's going to be hard for you to get rid of me. But towards the end there, he's like, oops, I am getting in trouble. I can't be getting away with this just because the top boss likes me.
Yeah,
I actually need to do my job.
yeah.
And I did kind of feel like, I'm sorry, am I really loud or is that just feedback?
Feedback.
I'm sorry. I also kind of felt like Davis was trying to use a lot of coercive power. And he kind of steered in that direction a little bit, maybe because he felt McDonald circumvented him. Yeah. So like I feel like my power's been messed with, so I need to get it back by going this direction.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember when I used to work, for McDonald's. I used to manage, and an issue that we had every time somebody moved up the ranks, like chef manager to an assistant manager or what, et cetera, when somebody moved up, the first few months were tough because they had to prove that they were like, I'm not that person anymore. I've moved up. I'm manager now. So they always had that issue where they were just power struggling. And I think that's what Davis had at the beginning too, because they were both new in their position. So Green was trying to say, oh, I got this position. I got to prove myself. I'm in power now. And then so was Davis. He had to prove that he was in power, especially when McDonald took that, choosing it. So there was like definitely a power struggle. And I think every company goes through that, no matter where you're in. You're always trying to prove to the people below you that you're like, I moved up, so I got to prove to you that I'm in power.
Yeah. And like you go from someone's peer, someone's equal, to suddenly being their boss, and then it's really difficult sometimes to take that step. So to change that relationship. But yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So David felt like he had to legitimize himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Green felt micromanaged. So you've got, those kind of fighting against each other.
And part of the reason why Donis felt like he had to legitimize himself, I'm sure, is because he felt undermined by McDonald choosing his employee for him. So, the lesson gives us like a list of different conflict styles. One is competition, which is characterized by aggressive and uncooperative behavior. 2 is compromise. Each party gives up something to gain something else. Avoidance, which is disassociation, ignoring or discounting the conflict. And the last is collaboration, working together to find a common resolution. What do you think Davis and Green's conflict styles are each?
I certainly saw avoidance from Green.
I agree with that.
He was avoiding Davis. He was avoiding, even just seeing him and talking to him, let alone he was also avoiding doing what was asked of him, which is kind of silly and petty, but
yeah. And I felt like Davis was a little aggressive and uncooperative. Like didn't he didn't see the value that Green could add, or not. I guess he saw some value in him, but he was unwilling to bend in what he felt like the position was. So I feel like Davis had a little more competition, and maybe he felt threatened by Green, so that could also cause some competition there.
So I also kind of felt like Davis felt like he was, well, I don't know if it's competition. It certainly wasn't collaboration.
Yeah. I don't feel like either one of them was really compromising either, where each of them was willing to give up something to do something that the other wanted. So I feel like they were both competing and avoiding
Yeah,
problems.
it's like when you were reading them, it was like one part was what they were, the conflict, and the other part was like the resolution, but it seems like they had no resolution. It was just conflict.
Yeah. So so what should Green do now? Now that he's in this mess, what should he do?
I think honestly recognizing what he's done and what he hasn't done, and just being upfront and saying, okay, I see that I was asked to do this, this, and this. And we'll pretend there's 5. I see that I was asked to do 5 things and I've only done 2 of them. I need to do these other 3 things. You know, he needs to recognize that he's part of a team. And I would hope that, you know, here's what I see that I did wrong. Here's how I think I should change it. Do you have any other suggestions? You know, being humble and open to being teachable. And then I would hope that Davis would be open to saying, I can see that I was a little overbearing, or I was a little, you know, I'll try not to be in your chili as much, but I need you to, you know, give me your information without being asked for it. You know the suspense dates, you know the due date, you know, I need you to act like an adult so I can treat you like an adult, rather than acting like a teenager so that I treat you like a teenager.
Yeah. I feel like this case study and the last case study have been a lot about not just doing the bare minimum when you're in a new position. It's about going above and beyond and adding value to your position so you can be seen as an adult, someone who's worthwhile and worth the time and worth the money to promote and to train. He's not doing that. He's doing what he thinks he should do, but he's not seeing that there's more he could add to his position to make Davis happy, as well as what he wants to do. He's not really adding anything.
Well, and I wonder if Green just needs to let go the whole, you know, he already let his boss know, I don't agree with your projections. And then he needs to just let it go. You said your piece, but you're not in charge. So you need to let it go.
I think there's like, just like you said in the last case, there's a generational issue because Green is very, very young. So that might be a huge issue too. And Davis is much older.
Yeah.
Why they collide a lot. But they need to get to know each other's generational, what's it called? Generational positives and negatives, and learn to work with each other.
Yeah. Green's 28 and Davis is 45.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why he treats him like he was his child, because he could be his child.
But I guess recognizing in the workplace that you have to be careful about that. I can understand why Green finds it condescending, but perhaps, you know, Davis doesn't mean it like that. He's giving honest. Here's a list. Here's what we need you to do. Not, I'm trying to get in your chili, and Green's not seeing that as, here's what I need from you. He's seeing, you're all in my business.
Yeah. Some examples that the lesson gave here. It suggests influence tactics such as consultations, coalitions, and rational persuasion, personal appeal, and ingratiation. like I they're kind of big words a little bit.
I'm
But
not sure what they're talking about.
yeah, but like consultation and coalitions, you know, like getting together and just consulting with each other, talking to each other to kind of work things and figure things out. And then like a personal appeal or trying to bring yourself into their good graces, you know, like we said last week, like fill them with kindness, like, you know, do everything they ask you to do. And they're your boss. Don't blow off what they say just because you think it's dumb, because they probably have some more experience than you do. And know, like, oh, this would make a difference if I actually provided some numbers to back up what I'm saying to my clients, and to actually show respect for my boss enough to let him know what city I'm in so he can get a hold of me. You know, kind of like coming together and seeing where each other differ and why. Maybe it would kind of open both of their eyes to see how they could both improve and learn from each other. So do you think that he can repair his relationship with Davis at this point?
I think it would take work on both sides. I think it would depend on how decided Davis is to getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Because this could just be Green's perspective. You know,
Mhm.
Davis may not be trying to get rid of him. He may not have been, you know, that may not have been his goal. His honest goal could have been, okay, here's where we are. You got hired. I didn't pick you, but, you know, let's do this.
Yeah.
Green started to worry was when Davis sent out an email, the last email, and he wasn't CC'd on it. And then, but somehow it got to him. So that was very shady. You know, and he didn't like that. That was shady. But I think that the requests that Davis has made are not unreasonable. I don't think they're like, update your calendar, call me, let me know what you're doing. It's not unreasonable by any means. And it's all spelled out there for him. I think just Green just needs to follow it and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or come back with, I see that these are important. Are you okay if I do it this way?
Yeah.
You know, act like an adult about this. Okay, you want A, B, and C. I'm comfortable with A and B, but can I do C in this way? Because this is how I'm comfortable doing it. Is that okay with you? And then you get the feedback. Well, sure, you can do it like that, you know. Or actually, I need you to do it this way because, you know, that opens that honest dialogue so that everybody actually, because I kind of wonder if, like you were kind of saying towards the beginning, Anne, if there was communication issues going on. And you're reading, it could be an age sort of a thing where they think they're understanding each other and they're just not.
Yeah.
We think we communicate. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Delay. I'm trying to wait a little longer, but sometimes I'm like, oh shoot, I'm talking over her again. I'm awesome. Lost it. Gone. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm just gonna start moving us on to the next section here, which is applying it to ourselves. So how can managing up be applied at work? I kind of liked this principle from last week, and we had to like Google it to see what it was. I know, but it kind of opened my eyes a little bit about my job and about like previous jobs that I've had. And like how it's not about just doing what's on your job description. It's about improving, finding ways to help those around you and adding value to your position, and like making it more worthwhile instead of just doing the bare minimum. Kind of how I took it. Seems
paying attention, kind of noticing how things fit into each other, and yeah, just doing your best work.
Yeah.
I think that
Go.
Sorry. Oh, okay. I think that as I've gotten older and have gotten more jobs, I've learned, like, when I got promoted to manager, when I worked at McDonald's, when I was like, the hardest part about my job was dealing with people. And I was like, I did not sign up to deal with people. I'm not here to be their therapist, their psychologist, or, you know, like, I had to listen to their issues and their problems, but then I had to, like, say, like, well, you kind of needed to show up to work yesterday, you know, and stuff like that. It's just, the people skills are so important, and sometimes they don't teach you that. People.
Yeah.
And he got promoted to that position, and maybe he wasn't fully qualified with his skills, but I think he probably got promoted because he did have people skills. He did have, you know, the skills to talk to his clients and get them engaged, but maybe he doesn't have those skills to work and collaborate.
Yeah. That's kind of what I thought about. Like, maybe you should try using some of those people skills that you use with your customers on your boss. Like, use those bright ideas to, like, show him what you believe in, what you can, and maybe he can manage up a little bit and teach Davis some of those skills.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if Davis couldn't have been. Yeah, I see you're doing great work here and here, but I need you. I need more of this and that. Like, being positive and keep doing this. This is great, but we need more of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are the principles of power within an organizational structure? I'm not sure exactly what that means, but any ideas about what that could mean? Principles of power within an organizational structure.
What was it they were earlier in the thing? It was asking us about power.
Yeah, that was power in politics in the company.
But like one of them was coercive power. One of them was, I wonder if that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, one is legitimate power, which is given through position, rank, or seniority. One is coercive power, which is the ability to enact consequences to influence action. So, like, Davis can fire Green or write him up or whatever. And then referent power, the linkages between key results or characteristics. So Green has power to create results or things like that. It's kind of what I inferred that. But the principles of power within the organizational structure. So, like you said, I think there's, like, the legitimate power that, you know, Davis has power to fire Green, or McDonald had power to hire Green. That's power. What other kinds of power do you think there are in an organizational structure?
Well, Green's certainly been trying to be coercive in that, you know, he's letting everybody that'll listen to him know that he doesn't agree with some of the stuff Davis has been saying, his projections, and there was something else that I can't think of right now. And that's sort of like an undermining coercive power. It's certainly not team building.
Oh, I was thinking, as far as power, Green needs to realize that Davis is in a higher power, you know, that he's his boss and that he has that power, and that he has less power. He has some power too, but he has less power, and he just needs to acknowledge that that's his boss, and he just needs to and he just started his job. And I mean, for him, I was shocked when he went and said, I don't agree with your numbers. And it's like, he just started that position, you know, and then he just needs to, like, calm down a little bit, you know, bring it down a few notches.
Yeah.
He's a little much right now.
Yeah.
Well, even if he's right, the timing was suspect.
Yeah.
Like, if you're the new guy, then you go, you know, later. Hey, can I talk to you after we're done? I'm a little concerned about, you know, yeah, he still needs to share and stuff, but to do it in the middle of the meeting, that is like trying to delegitimize Davis's power right there, you know. They're already having a struggle. Well, let's just bring it up a notch.
Yeah, that kind of leads into the next question. It says, how can someone be proactive in managing office politics, power, and conflict? And so that would have been a big step right there. Don't, not ridicule, but don't make your boss feel small in front of everyone else. That's a big thing. I mean, how much easier would Green's life be now if he had waited till he could go into Green, like in a private setting and say, hey, these are some of the numbers that I worked up. I was wondering if maybe our projections were off a little. I mean, wouldn't that be a much better way to handle that?
Yeah. What's that old saying? Praise in public, something in private, criticize in private. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to do that with your equals and those that are below you, but you need to do it with your bosses too.
Yeah. I mean, if he really thinks it's a problem that the projections are high, then he needs to address it with him in a respectful, private way, not in front of everyone.
And their projections anyway, so that was kind of silly. Their projections.
Yeah. Aim high.
You know.
Yeah.
It's a guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what?
I think your guess is wrong, so let's argue about you guessing wrong. You know, it's kind of like, that's ridiculous.
I think he could have been more proactive if he did. Well, some of the things that like Anne and you, Yuridi, were saying, if he just said, hey, I see you want me to do this, this, and this, you know, I want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
He could have been proactive in that way, and I think it would have diffused the problem and probably gotten him out of this hole that he dug himself into.
Yeah.
Well, I think had he done what he asked him at first, I think it would have gotten better, but he continued to not do it.
Yeah.
So, have you seen some connections between the case and the reading assignment this week?
I haven't yet, because at the reading summit was just like the introductions of stuff, and I haven't done this week's reading, so I'm hoping that I'll get past the introductions.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I don't know. Like, I was homesick the other day, and so I just sat and read for probably too long. But this book, I find this next book much more interesting than the other one. It's much easier to read, and I don't know, there's actually people that you kind of get to know rather than just lots of anecdotes. But one thing that it mentioned in the part, I don't know if I'm in the right spot or not, but it mentioned that when we start, instead of working as a team, we work as individuals. So we have individual goals that don't necessarily meet up with the rest of the goals. So like, we each have individual responsibilities. So you have like accounting, and you have marketing, and you have sales. And marketing is going for marketing goals, and sales is going for sales goals. But if they're not all focusing on each other's goals, then they still won't succeed as a team. So marketing needs to worry about sales goals, and sales needs to worry about accounting goals. Otherwise, they're just going to like only focus on their goals. They won't like share resources, they won't share information, they won't work together to achieve the company goals. So while one section might be succeeding, not the whole company will be succeeding. And I kind of see that here in this case. Green is so worried about his goals and about what's going on that he's not taking into account Davis's goals and what Davis wants to happen for the entire group. And so it's more about individualism and less about the team.
I think were we also asking about gospel connections?
Well, we only have 10 minutes left, and I have to leave probably sooner than that. So I was kind of skipping things, like I said, I would probably do.
But
But if you would like to mention any gospel connection,
I was just thinking he was Green was showing a huge lack of humility is all by not taking the critiques of his boss to heart, by not really enacting them. And sure, maybe he's right about the projections, but he's more worried about himself and not, like you said, not about the team.
Yeah. Okay. So, kind of in summary, we've mostly talked about like some personal egos on everyone's side, and power, how there's a lack of respect for power, or there's power struggles. I think that's kind of a big portion of this is power and what comes into office politics because of power, either perceived power, like Green thinks he has lots of power because he's got McDonald on his side, and then Davis's real power that he's ignoring. It's what's causing the problems, I think, more than anything in this case study. So to kind of give you the conclusion, it says, after McDonald's February 5th email, Green took the offensive against his boss. He crafted a series of memorandum emails, reports, and projections that exposed inaccuracies and creative forecasting. This data enabled Green to build some alliances with other marketing personnel who used the data to ultimately side with him. On April 4th, it was announced that Frank Davis was being moved laterally to an undefined special project. However, Green's tactics were seen as overly brutal by many in the company. And although he won the battle against his boss, his career was irreparably harmed. McDonald distanced herself from him, and by July of 2008, Green announced he was resigning from his position to pursue full-time studies for an MBA. You can only speculate what would have occurred if Green had tried to help Davis work out the discrepancies and problems with forecasts. Perhaps both would have succeeded. So I think that's interesting. A lot of the other cases, like in the end, the person wins, it all works out great. But this one, he didn't do what he should have done. And it probably ruins both of their careers at that company.
Well, and it kind of reminds me of the speed of trust. He, his numbers might have been right, but nobody else wanted to trust him because, if he's willing to stab his brand new boss in the back so fast, then who else is he going to stab in the back?
Mm-hmm. And Davis may have been respected before Green was there. He obviously was respected enough to get promoted. He obviously had some good things going on, and then Green kind of came in and undermined him. And
I think it's just like what Laura said earlier. You can go and express yourself, but it just depends how you do it, and attaching it to gospel principles. We have the right to question the church and to have doubts. Mm-hmm. About it. Do you go picketing around the church temple because you disagree with something, Yeah. Go to General Conference and build this huge thing, or do you go to your bishop or your president and you talk to them, like, hey, I have an issue with this in regards to the church.
Yeah.
How you go forth about it. And the way he did it was just not right.
Well, and certainly not respectful of either Davis or McDonald. I mean, obviously, Davis would, like Ann was saying, Davis wouldn't have gotten promoted if he wasn't good at quite a few things. Just like Green wouldn't have gotten promoted if he wasn't good at quite a few things. But, yeah, interesting. He was a little too aggressive, and it came back to bite him in the butt.
Yeah. So it kind of goes to show how important it is to be understanding and take time to get to know people rather than just assuming that they're than just disregarding their qualities and their strengths. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really quick. It reminds me of when I was managing. I learned a lot about management, and you need to know the other person, what type of person they are. There's controllers. There's people that are just about analytical. There's a huge list, actually, of different types of personalities. It's easier to get to know my managers was I gave them a test, and I said, here, take this test, And I got to know each person. And like one of my managers was a family oriented person. So every time I talked to her, I was like, how's your family? How you're doing? How are your kids? And then she would be open up to me and she would talk to me. My other person was very analytical. So I knew that if I brought up numbers, I would engage them. So I think you do have to take your time to get to know them and to get to know their type of personality. And once you know their personality type, you can know how to approach them properly.
So true. Is there anything else anybody wants to share?
I just feel sorry for Davis and for Green.
Yeah. It could have worked out for both of them and it was fine.
Yeah, it's like they forgot, you know, our company is a team and we need to work, you know, find a way to work together so that, what was it that, I guess it's in the 5 Dysfunctions book. I have to be careful or I've got books for 2 classes and I have to be careful. Wait a minute, is this the right book for the right class? What was it they were talking about? Oh, it's gone. All right, I'll find it. I'll put it in my thing.
Okay. No worries. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Sorry I was kind of rushing through it. I just
Stuff happens.
So true. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. I'll go ahead.
Quick question before we go. Is it my turn next week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then it's Eurydice, and I guess then it's Joseph, then Anne.
No more Joseph.
I think, let's see here. I think there's like a gap. Let's see. There's no meeting in week 10, so not you next week. You're week 11.
Okay.
And then 12. And then there's no meetings in weeks 13 or 14.
Okay.
Okay, so we end with me. Okay.
Yeah, so we just each have one more turn, and then we're done. So next week, there's no group meeting.
It's the week after.
Yeah.
Okay.
According to the little schedule that he sent out. So
I just, with Joseph being gone, I wanted to make sure we're all.
yeah. Joseph
Awesome.
did his time. Okay. Well, thanks, you guys.
Good luck with the car.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
You guys have a good week. Take care.